West Encyclopedia of American Law defines euthanasia as the act of killing an incurably ill person out of concern and compassion for that person's suffering. On March 18, 2015, Gallup polls conducted a study and found that an immense 86% of people supported euthanasia. Even that much support still doesn't make it legal in most of the United States. The only states that have it legalized are Washington, Montana, Vermont, and Oregon. Because it's so controversial, people have a lot of differing opinions, which I'm sure you do as well. But if this ever had to happen in your family, I think you would want to be a little more educated before making a decision. I researched and found many arguments from respected professors that I will be sharing with you. Since it has sparked many debates, I will tell you a lot of information about why it should be illegal, why it should be legal, and about a doctor who did what he perceived as the right thing to do. The first argument I will tell you is why it should be legal. Many defenses, such as religious viewpoints, and it hurts the medical field, and we need to see the worth in ourselves. Assemblies of God is the largest denomination in the United States. The chairman, Edgar R. Lee, says we simply feel it is not our prerogative to end life. We were created by God, so he should have the power to decide when our time is up. It is wrong to go against his plan because Lee says God is the giver of life, not us. A professor of Buddhist ethics also said, Buddhism teaches it is morally wrong to destroy human life, including one's own, even if the intention is to end suffering. A staff ethicist at the National Catholic Bioethics Center also oppose it, along with a professor of Christian ethics at the Virginia Theological Seminary. And they state that the church's view is that one should never take a life, not even your own. Legalizing euthanasia disrespects anyone who practices any one of these religions. Having this as an option also hurts the medical field. Donald Boudreaux, MD, wrote an article explaining how he couldn't fathom if this ever became legal, because he couldn't imagine having this be taught in medical schools, how to end their patients' lives. It could also lead to other problems, such as a simple way out rather than letting the doctors do what they've trained years to do, which is to save lives. It would give doctors and nurses way too much power and control when it should ultimately be the patient's decision. Also, maybe the most important reason is we need to have more respect for ourselves and our bodies. We should not abuse the life we were given. The next side is why people believe it should be illegal. We have the ability to decide what happens to our bodies. It is not technically considered murder, and the Hippocratic Oath seems to support it. We all have rights, and we are born with choices and freedom. That is what being American means. Regardless of any situation, we have always been up to stand up for what we want and what we believe in. It is not technically considered murder either. Murder is kill for the sole purpose of inflicting pain and suffering, and the victim generally doesn't want to die. However, in this circumstance, they want to and choose to die to end their suffering. The Hippocratic Oath also seems to support it. They state do no harm. By keeping a patient in agony and suffering is technically doing more harm to the patient than good, rather than just putting them out of their misery. I don't think we can talk about euthanasia without bringing up the infamous name that goes along with it, Dr. Jack Kevorkian, nicknamed Dr. Death. He assisted at least 130 people committing suicide by using his suicide machine. He bought scrap metal pieces for $30 and to build it. Here is a quote of how it was used. It started with an intravenous drip of saline solution. Then the patient would press a button starting a device which stopped the saline solution and started releasing a drug of thiopental with a 60-second timer. This would put the patient into a deep coma. Finally, the timer's click would begin a lethal dose of potassium chloride, and that would stop his heart. The patient would die of a heart attack while asleep. For his actions, he was charged many times within 7 years. His charges were almost always dismissed until 10 years later, He was convicted of second-degree murder on April 13, 1999. He was sentenced 10 to 25 years, but only served 8 before getting released. He promised he would never conduct another physician-assisted suicide. He died 5 years after he was released. Now that we have covered both sides of this heavily debated topic, hopefully you have learned more than you knew before and can pick a side with more confidence. First, we discussed why it should be illegal because of different religious views. It hurts the medical field, and we need to care more about our bodies than to just end it. Then, we covered why people support euthanasia. It is believed that we all have rights and freedoms to decide for ourselves. It's not classified as murder, and the Hippocratic Oath seems to support it, and that it is more ethical to do for the patient. Lastly, we learned about Dr. Jack Kevorkian, a doctor who felt very strongly about what he was doing and stood by his actions. He generated lots of talk about euthanasia and made massive headlines. It is up to you to decide where you fall in this controversial topic. But keep in mind, what if it was you or someone you loved in this situation, and they were in an unbearable state of pain? Wouldn't you want to have a choice, and would that change your opinion?